And with that, we are live here on Amazon with Tricia Scimone. Tricia, am I pronouncing your name right?
Scimone, like that real Italian feel. Exactly.
I love it. Scimone. I got it. Hey, we are here live on Amazon, and
Yes,
we're going
you
to talk
do.
about life and interesting stuff. And Tricia's book, The Gray Divorce Revolution, Naked and Unafraid. So we're going to get into that. But Tricia, let people know who you are, what's going on in your world, and we'll talk about the journey and the book and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. I am a gray divorcee. I am one of more than a few people that women that have walked into their home of 20 years and better and asked their husband, told their husband that they were in the process of divorcing. That was a few years ago, and I have gotten from one place to another, and I wrote a book because I felt like people needed to see and hear my truth. It may not be everyone's truth. I call it a truth. Some people call it gifts. And I just needed to hear another point, possibly. And how I started my journey through this process was, I first started out at a divorce class. And I was there for a few years. I took my divorce rather seriously. And when I set out on my journey, I really wanted to understand what my responsibility was in the demise of my divorce and how it happened. And obviously I didn't want to go through the same thing yet again, because I knew that I did want a man in my life at one point, and I didn't know at what capacity, but I certainly felt like I wanted a man in my life and didn't want to make that same mistake. So my journey took me to, at first, a divorce class, and I started hearing words, and I put down all the words that I was hearing. I know it sounds silly that I wasn't really, not that I wasn't listening in the class, but there were 30 some odd at first. And I started putting down words that people were saying. Respect and love, regrets, loneliness, red flags, infidelity, all of these words. After the words, I started making sentences, and they actually made the sentences, not me. And so I started putting down things like, I don't know where I in an end. I don't know what my life is going to look like. I don't know what my children's life is going to look like. I don't know what's going to happen to the house and my friends and life in general. And that really boiled down to two words for me. One of them was tears, and the other one was fears. And I related the tears to all of the men and women that I sat with. And, many tried to put on smiling faces, but beyond those faces was a tremendous amount of sadness and quite a bit of tears. And usually I'm the kind of person that jumps up and there I am with a tissue and I'm ready to help. And always ask for something to do to be a helpfulness. And then when I started thinking about people's fears, I had some of my own as well. I realized that I really could do something to be of helpfulness to them. And so I went on yet another journey, seeming to read every book, every article or website. And once I did that, it then took me into other areas of exploration. And so there I was reading books on the secret ways to find your love. And all sorts of interesting titles. And by the way, none of these things are secrets unless they've made a new discovery about how your brain works or the chemicals in your brain. The fact is that there's nothing new. This is work. All of this is work. To get here to there, it's work. It's just that. But my journey had many directions, and that was the beginnings of the book. I just started writing about the things that I was hearing over and over and over again.
So this is great. So when you're going through the class and you're writing, and writing and journaling can be very helpful. Now, were you doing this just for yourself, or did you at some point, or when did it, as you're writing these words that became sentences, when did that moment hit you that you thought this should be a book?
Actually, decided that I wanted to look into podcasting because I felt like I wanted to be of helpfulness to people at any hour of the day or night. And so I said, okay, well, how could I make that work? And the coach that I had hired to actually guide me through all of this said to me, you should write a book. And I said, okay, I'm not a writer. I've never written a book before. And I don't think that I have enough of an understanding of write a book to actually write. And I got in touch with my publisher. Her name is Liz. And Liz said to me, every person has a book in them. And I said, okay, well, I'm glad you think so, but I'm not so sure that I have a book in me. But as I started to send her some very loose chapters of the book, and she started helping me to organize how to put my feelings and my research on paper and send it over to her, I really began to take on this very confident person, which I typically am. I am very much of a strong-willed individual. And so she kept telling me I could do it, and I kept believing that I could, Scott. And so as the months passed and the chapters started to come together, I realized that indeed I could write a book, and that my words were really important. And the things that I was imparting to people were things that I knew were important, in having to have spent so much time with 30 some odd people in a class, and then talking to people after class. And I'm a pretty gregarious person. I've been told that I can speak to an ant on the street. And so I talk to an awful lot of people about where they are in life, and what they hope to have their next set of years look like. And so it was pretty interesting for me to actually start putting all of this together myself.
Yeah, Liz is so encouraging. She is just a great. I'm sure she would be great to work with from the very beginning for someone that is an experienced writer, or someone like yourself who this is their first book. But it's really important that you put these together. And I know that there's a number of stories, and it starts with your story, but then you also bring in stories from other people.
Yes. My story does jumpstart the book, and I will briefly tell you it's a story of my 20 years of marriage, and set in a couple of pages. But in addition to what I learned in my marriage, it was an experience with a gentleman after my marriage. I was divorced, and I met a gentleman on Plenty of Fish, and the experience that I received from him. There's many people that have said, gosh, are you sure you want to put your story, your feelings, your heartache, your love story out there? And I felt that it was important. I felt it was important for a number of reasons. First of all, because there will be people, and there are people. I've already got some feedback from the book from Amazon reviews that may feel a little bit differently than I do, but that's okay. You know, that makes the world go round, and all of us think, and all of us learn. And it was a story, it was an experience that I had after my marriage. And then there's 5 other stories, 3 men's stories, 3 women's stories, of how they experience love, how they experience their marriage, and how their marriage and why their marriage ended. Then I have a short area of untold stories, because there were people that I approached and asked them if they'd be kind enough to contribute to the book, which they originally said yes to. And then once we started getting into the questions and the book itself, there were more than a few people, and I was very surprised to find out that they could not continue. There was a gentleman that said that he was made of Teflon, that he absolutely was prepared to, he didn't want to write his story. He wanted me to write the story. And I started taking notes of everything. And after our third meet, he called me and said, Tricia, I don't think that I can do this. He said, I never thought that I would react this way, but the sad truth is that I obviously have unresolved feelings here, and this has gotten me very emotionally charged. and I can't move forward. I can't do this. And this was after many years of being divorced. And so that is yet another point that I thought was important to actually put in the book also, Scott. There are many people that are, I call them walking wounded, because there's so many people out there that have been divorced for many years. I just befriended a woman not all that long ago here. She's been divorced for years. She will not let another person into life. And rightly so, because she is not prepared to love another human being at this point. She can't bear it. She can't bear the heartache of being let down again. She can't bear many things. And so she's decided that she does not want a man in her life because she just can't bear the heartbreak of having someone else in her life that may walk away. And so we start out with 6 stories, and we go from those 6 stories into how the workings of us are. It starts out with understanding what gray divorce is. It goes into really what real conditional love is, and that's something that many people have a difficult time with, because all of us have an idea of what we think our truth of love is. But I will tell you, if you put 100 or 1,000 people in a room, it wouldn't make a difference whatsoever. I don't believe you'd end up getting names from all of those 1,000 people, because we all speak the same languages, but men are from Mars and women are from Venus, and it's not a negative whatsoever. It's just that we think very differently. And in addition to that, it's our perception. It's where we came from, what our belief system is, what our emotional feelings are. There's so much that's tied to love, that when someone asks us, what is love? It's our truth, our interpretation of what love is. And so even though we're saying the same things, we may mean very, very, very different things. And so it takes us through a journey of what real unconditional love is. It talks about stages of love, and it also talks about who's to say who loves who first. We go into a little bit on apologies and things of that nature, because of course there will be a time, as much as you love someone, that there may be a bit of an argument, and you need to be able to have an argument in a very loving way. And it talks about communication. It talks about how women look at men and what it is that they're looking for, and vice versa, how men look at women and what it is that they're looking for, because there are some similarities, of course, but there also are some differences. And then the third part of the book is actually about once you've come full circle and you're ready to get back on the horse, so to speak. Dating apps, profiles, how to write a good profile. Maybe if you're interested in moving, the areas of where many singles are, and the fact that they are on dating sites, and they have communities for people specifically looking to have a full life as a senior. And at the end of the book are some good information as far as ageism and then a little bit of information about my 7 steps to healing a broken heart.
So I'm going to just take a moment and remind everybody we are live here with Tricia Scimone. We are talking about her book, The Gray Divorce Revolution, Naked and Unafraid. And we did start with Tricia's story, and there's 5 other stories in there. You or someone you know may really benefit or identify with one of those stories. But again, there is some practical advice here. We do have the book highlighted in the carousel. I encourage you, click on the book, take a peek inside. And beautiful book, great story, very necessary. And so, Tricia, I'm glad that you have decided to take and put this story together. And I just think about these people that started the process, because you have 5 other folks that have shared their story, and then you have the untold story. And they say that pain heals, or time heals all wounds, but I think those wounds are still there. It's just there's more stuff that accumulates. I don't think that we really allow time to get or that time really does heal us.
Well, from the research that I've done and from people's experiences, I believe that over time there is somewhat of a healing, but I also feel that many of the times people have that in the back of their mind because, unfortunately, fear is typically with us our whole lives, one form or another. So, as an example, if they were hurt by their divorce and they were hurt in a particular way, I believe that will always be a sore spot, just because of the fact that in the back of their mind, it's like, is this person going to do this to me again? And I hear and have heard that many, many times. As a matter of fact, I have a friend who's in the process of going through that right now. He's having a very tough time of it because it's very hard for you to get over past hurts. Some people take a very short period of time. Some people take a very long period of time. People will always say to me, well, how long is that process going to be? When can I expect to get over this? And there really isn't any particular time. It's when you have decided that you don't want to stuff your feelings any longer, that you want to go through it. Because the only way to start to heal is to go through it. You have no other choice. And so all too often, people will have that in the back of their minds and say, oh, I see this going down the very same road as before and like it, and they'll write. And it's very bad to do that just because you have now created your own scenario. And I'll tell you something simply of what happened just a few days ago. I am still on dating websites. I've just gone back to doing that. And I was texting a gentleman. We were texting back and forth. And he said to me, gosh, if you're real, I would love to be able to meet you. I can't wait to meet you because I want to get off these dating sites. And he kept insisting, that I may not be real. So I sent him a copy of the cover of the book. I said, this is me. I'm real. Well, Scott, I could not believe what happened next. He texted me back and said, I am a simple Iowa boy. I only make between $100,000 to $200,000 a year. all I want is a simple life. I believe I am, you are well out of my league. I'm not going to meet you. And thank you so very much. And I was amazed. Really. I was absolutely positively amazed. We hadn't even spoken to one another. We just been texting one another. And in his mind already, he had felt like, okay, this person is not for me. Somehow or other, I became out of his league. And that was the end of our texting conversation. And it happens all too often. We have perceptions of what people are supposed to look like. And that was yet another reason why I wrote the book, Scott. You know, I had a perception of what I wanted a person to look like and what their whole demeanor was to be. And, you know, we make these people in our minds. And so when I met the man that I actually fell in love with, he was nothing like I would have picked out. If there were 5 men in a line and someone said to me, okay, Trish, pick one, he probably would have been either the last or the second to last person I would have picked. And for many reasons. And that's one of the things that I say in the book, that just because someone is in a certain package, if you're drawn to them, and I was basically drawn to this person, maybe it's the universe telling you something. And if you don't believe in the universe telling you something, maybe it should be something that you investigate yourself, regardless of whether you believe the universe telling you something or not. I believe in that. Not everybody does. Some people think that's a little woo-woo, but such is life. But at any
there's
rate,
certainly,
you know, people
yeah.
have.
I was going to say
Go ahead, Scott.
there are certainly more in the universe that we don't know than what we do know. So that's just a fascinating story about this man that you were texting with, and I'll just say it kind of leads into a question that Liz was asking here about what surprised you the most when you talk to people about divorce.
Well, everyone says that they have a story. That's the first thing. And everyone says that I'm not going to believe it. That's the second thing. And everyone says that their story is so unique than anyone else's story. And I guess we all want to believe that. But truth be told, we all feel like we were alone. When I first started thinking about all of this, I did feel very, very much alone, because I said, gosh, I'm pushing my mid 60s. How could I possibly do this? There's not going to be anyone else out there but me. And then when I started reading, I learned very differently. That's why it's, to me, a revolution, because 1 in 4 couples over the age of 50 are divorcing. Over half of them have been married for better than 20 years. And as I said to you, the majority of people asking for the divorce are women. And so when I started to see those statistics, I became a little more empowered, because I'm not alone. There's a whole group of women in front of me and a whole group of women behind me. And I think Gloria Steinem would have been pretty happy with me. I mean, I didn't burn my bra this time around, but I think she was right there with me. So I I was really astounded at the fact that there were
Mm.
so many women so disenchanted with the status quo, because men are able to tolerate, withstand. I mean, I don't know if there's an actual appropriate word for it, but I think that many men are accepting the status quo, and there are many more women that will not tolerate status quo. They won't tolerate what it is that they want. I mean, I looked at myself, and this is how I came to terms with what I felt like I was forced to do. Um, I looked at myself and I said, is this what I want for myself for the rest of my life? And I can't tell you that I can't tell, a horrible human being. I can't tell you any of those things. I can only tell you that I was unhappy, that I felt like the spark in my life was gone. I felt like I lost the person of who I was, and that the only way to actually find that person again was to leave. The only way to find happiness again was to leave. And I believe that there are many women who felt just like I did. They were forced to leave because they were in horrific circumstances. Thankfully, I was not. I was just horribly unhappy. And so that is what I was very much surprised about. I think I was also surprised to find that there were many people that didn't understand love. And I'd like to read one of my reviews, if you don't mind.
That would be wonderful.
Is that okay with you? Fabulous. Okay, so here's that review that came up on the Amazon review. It's from a gentleman, which is surprising because the majority of people that buys books, and these in particular, are women. But this is a gentleman who's speaking. He says, a must read for everyone thinking about getting into a relationship or in a relationship or marriage. This very well-written book is for us who think we know how to have a true love relationship, the stages you go through in developing that love, and the pitfalls and heartbreak one goes through on different levels along the way of trying to find true love. I thought I knew what love is. After reading this book, I couldn't have been more wrong. Need help getting over a heartbreak? This is a must read. Thanks to the author for helping me to more understand love.
Wonderful.
And that's the reason I wrote the book. For people like that gentleman who obviously either had a hard time or is having a hard time learning what love is, learning how to really give love, learning, you can never stop learning. And even though he must be in his 50s or 60s or maybe even in his 70s, he wants to know. He wants to live his best life now. And the only way you're going to do that is by overcoming and opening up and learning to be the loving, wonderful human being that likely you are. And one of the things that I find also credible is the fact that, The front of my book has naked and unafraid. Now, naked to me relates to what I call your superpowers, your vulnerability, your courage, your trust, and your empathy. You have to put those all on the table when you're meeting an individual. You can't go in there with half a heart, or, not trusting, or not having enough empathy. You need to have that all, and you need to give it all to the next person in order to have a loving, real relationship. There's so many aha moments that I have had, and those aha moments ended up in a chapter, just because they were not only an aha moment to me, they were a moment to loads of other people. And it's funny because when sitting down in some of those classes and my aha moment came, I looked around the room, and guess what? There were plenty of other people that had the same look on their face. That same aha moment came to them too. So it's not just one reason I wrote the book. I wrote the book for, I can't tell you how many reasons. Well, I can also tell you this. When I started to look at other books on divorce, especially gray divorce, they were specifics. There was a book on the laws of divorce. And so it was an entire book that was, I don't know, probably 5 times my size. And it was all about the laws of divorce. Well, I stayed away from that. I'm not an attorney. I don't claim to be one. So that was not my area of expertise. And then there were books on, let's see, what else? Well, they were specifics. And so I couldn't end up finding a book that was on. I couldn't find a book where you allowed people to hear other people's stories, so you knew that you weren't alone, because I'm that I'm not the only person that experienced the same thing that I experienced. And then the second story, a gentleman who unfortunately cheated on his wife for 10 years and had this mistress, and his wife found out on the 10th year and asked him for a divorce. Well, he was very surprised that his wife asked him for a divorce. And when I questioned him and said, gosh, I'm curious, why do you feel that after your wife found out that you were cheating on her for 10 years, that she would turn around and say, well, I guess it's about time that we, worked on our relationship. He says, well, not only for myself and my wife, but we had 2 children. You would think that you would want to end up working on it for an entire family. And there were plenty of people who I'm sure went through that very same thing, because infidelity in this country is huge. So I'm not surprised if many people turn around and say, hey, this could be me. Just like in my story, I'm sure that there are people that have turned around and said, this is my story too. Now, they haven't reached out to me as of yet, but that doesn't mean tomorrow or the next day or the day after, I'll get an email that says, hey, I went through the very same thing you went through, and this is how I went through it, or I'm not through it yet. But, it's a way of being able to have people see that they are not alone. Even if they can't relate to any of the 6 stories, they can still relate to the fact that they have a story of their own. And then, of course, as I said, the next steps are, taking those steps to move forward. And then the last set, back into dating, and you're back into a whole nother way of living that you are able to go through that as well. So there was nothing in there that gave to everyone. And that's why, I feel that the book is just so different than anything that was there, because I read many of them before or while I was writing my book. So I know that this book is very different. I know that this book is very helpful. I know that beyond a shadow of a doubt, the book has only been out for less than 2 weeks, and I'm already getting great reviews. So I know that I hit lots of chords with lots of people, and I'm going to hit more and more every day.
Tricia, you're absolutely right. And again, I'm glad that you wrote the book. I'm glad that we get to have this conversation. And just remind everybody, we are talking with the author, Tricia Scimone, of The Gray Divorce Revolution. And these are great stories. And we've talked about the journey of your journey, of these the other 5 that shared their full stories, the people where we have their, as you said, the untold stories. But I'm going to play a little. I'll play a little clip here, and I want to get into some of the tips, because this isn't just a sharing. But let me play this, and then I'm going to let it go for a little bit, and then I'm just going to let you talk about this.
Okay, fabulous.
All right, we'll let that go again. You can take a look. But Tricia, tell us what's going on here, and how this relates into your book.
Okay. Fabulous. Well, there is a chapter that talks about first dates, fun first dates. And most people go on their first date and they meet at a restaurant and they sit and chat with one another. Lots of times it's a noisy restaurant, so you're having to almost yell over someone else in which to be able to have a conversation. I felt like maybe there was a better way to have a first date. And what you saw was a small clip of I was on a dating site called Zeus, which is where I met this gentleman, and his name is Michael. And we are friends today. It wasn't a love story success, but it was certainly a very fabulous friend story success. We decided that our first date was going to be a pillow fight on the beach. So I live in an area where the beach is 5 minutes away. It's a very beautiful beach. And when we said, okay, we'll get together, we put on our bathing suits and pillows with me. And we said that we were going to have a fight until one of us went down. He went down, not me. But it was a whole lot of fun. And it was a way of being able to laugh and enjoy ourselves and just live in the moment. And that's one of the things that are in my book also. Life is a journey. It's not just a destination. And one of the reasons why I see both men and women complaining about dating is that they're too worried about the destination and they're not enjoying the journey. And the journey is meeting people, and okay, maybe not all of them are success stories. Maybe you're not going to, find your husband today, but maybe you'd find a really great friend. Maybe you'll find, someone who encourages you. Maybe you find someone that you learn from. There's something that you can get out of anything as long as you look for a silver lining. But if you're just looking for that destination and you have those blinders on, you're not going to see all the beautiful things that are out there. And chapter is all about trying to do things to enjoy each other's company. So if you're an adrenaline junkie and you want to go rock climbing, well, maybe that's something that the two of you should do. If the both of you are into cooking, maybe you want to have a cooking class together. Maybe you want to go over one of each other's homes and enjoy cooking a special meal that the both of you like. I mean, there's 101 different things that you can do to see how similar you are to one another, because all too often, and now especially, it seems like we're concentrating on all of the things that make us different. Well, why? Why don't we concentrate on all of the things that we both enjoy doing, or all the things that make us the same? And I'm not saying that I want to find a man that I'm cloning for me. I want to find a man that has our interests, but I don't want a man that's just like me. So I want to be able to enjoy some of these things. And that was what the whole chapter was about. So you can go axe throwing. You can take golfing classes together. There's a multitude of things that you can do. Once you have a connection and you're having a conversation, I'm sure that there's something that the two of you can find that both of you would enjoy. And so that's what that little clip was about, is finding a place where you could both enjoy. Actually, he moved down from up north. He was very much looking forward to being in nice, warm, sunny weather. And I said to him, would you like a picnic on the beach? And he seemed to be excited about that. I said, okay, so let's go one step further. Why don't we have a pillow fight and a picnic on the beach? And we're friends today, not friends with benefits. We're friends, real, true friends. And it started out with that pillow fight.
That is
so that was
just such a
quite an
wonderful story.
enjoyable time. And I've suggested many different things. It's a fun story too. And if
That's
you
all.
saw the
I
entire
had to
clip of
include
it,
the.
you would really see that we did enjoy ourselves.
Well, the video just made me smile, and I wanted to make
What's
sure that we
that?
included that. I wanted to make sure we included it. It just made me smile, and I knew that other people would enjoy that. And it also just adds that depth into what people can expect when they get your book. The Great Divorce Revolution is right here in the carousel. We're here live on Amazon, and we're talking with Tricia Scimone, who wrote this book. And there's great stories, there's practical advice, and as you can see, there's some fun there. And Tricia is absolutely right. The journey is so important. And there's so many people that wish their lives away. They wish it was 5:00, wish it was Friday, wish they were on vacation, wish they were retired, wish they found that perfect person. But isn't today enough?
Well, actually, that leads me to chapter 2, Scott. I'd love to just, before we leave, touch on regrets. That really was something that was bothersome. And I'm going to read something. There are 2 things that people regret. And I got that from, she was a well-known Australian palliative care nurse. And so she wrote a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. In the book, she describes the 5 most common wishes she heard from her soon to depart clients. You know what the first one was, Scott? It really, this just so bothers me. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Now,
Wow.
I can't tell you how many times I have heard people say, not in these words, but I cannot tell you how many times I've heard people say things very similar to that. I know of people that haven't been able to voice that, but I know many, you as well, know many people that are living a lie, living someone else's life. And honestly, that's how I felt really 5 years of my marriage. I was living a lie. I was living someone else's life. I was not being true to who I was. Now, mine wasn't based in courage, but the fact is that there's a lot of people, once again, we'll go back to fear. There's a lot of people that are living in fear. And they're concerned about what their parents are thinking. They're concerned about what their girlfriend is thinking. They're concerned about what their in-laws are thinking. And instead of living a life true to themselves, they are living a life of regret. They are living a life of lies. And that, I think, is so positively sad. And the other regret was not doing something that they felt like they should have done. Everything was really based in, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I had the courage to express myself. I wish I had let myself be happier. I mean, aren't these wow moments? Aren't these aha moments? You know, when you're hearing this, aren't you waking up and saying, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to change the next moment of my life? I don't want to be one of those people she's going to be writing about. And I don't want to be. I don't want to be one of these people that they're going to write about me. I don't want anyone at my funeral to turn around and say, oh, she really didn't do what she wanted to do. I want everyone at my funeral to be having a ball and saying, guess what? She wants us to celebrate. Let's dance on her grave. But the sad truth is that there's so many people out there not living their life, not living the life that they want to live. And I want them to live. That's another reason. As I said, there's a multitude of reasons why I wrote this book. This is one of them too. I want everyone. I want them to experience what living life really is. It is a gift. It honestly is. And I grew up in a very enmeshed Italian family, and I knew really what love is. And my father honestly believed that every day was a gift. And thankfully, he gave that to me. He gave me that gift. I'm gifting it. I'm giving it to everyone who's listening today.
Tricia, I love that. I love that. You have that quote there in your book, and today really is a precious gift. And I was also thinking George Bernard Shaw, the one who said, "Youth is wasted on the young," and but we do have today. Today is the present, and so take advantage.
You're absolutely right. Take advantage. I mean, if you have a dream, today's the day to make your dream come true. If your dream is to move to Southern California, start making those plans to do it. If your dream is to go and adopt a pet, who's stopping you? Go do it. I mean, there isn't anything that you really can't do. The only person that's stopping you is you.
You're right. There are a lot of artificial
And so,
boundaries.
there's lots.
There's a lot of artificial boundaries that we place on our lives.
Yes, absolutely.
And if we can break through those, now the common phrase is to be thinking out of the box. Everyone has their pet peeves. That's one of my pet peeves. But I will say, do not
Yes.
be limited by artificial boundaries. And as you said, take advantage, learn from others. Take the book, The Great Divorce Revolution, read through it, learn the stories, take advantage of these other lives that are ahead of you, and don't lose the opportunity to benefit today.
Well said, Scott. Could not have said better myself.
Well, we'll wind this one down. Tricia, I just had so much fun talking with you today and sharing about your book, and it is in the carousel for everyone. Click on, just go ahead, add it to cart. Holidays can be challenging times emotionally for people, and those who have gone through divorce, or going through divorce. It can be a challenging time. Learn that you are not the only one out there. This may be for yourself, and maybe for somebody you know. Click the book, add it to cart. You can have it delivered directly to somebody that needs that. And so, Tricia, let's just kind of tell people how they can get a hold of you, if that's helpful. Maybe bring you in as a speaker, or some other education. What's the best way to get a hold of you? And I'll let you have the final words here.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Scott. You can email me if you have a question. If you would like to write your own story, I'll be putting them up on the Great Divorce Revolution from time to time. You can get a hold of me by emailing me at Tricia Scimone at gmail.com. And my name is spelt on the bottom. And if you would like for me to talk to a group, whether you're part of 8JAR or some sort of divorce group, support group, anything of that nature, I'd be delighted to speak. And you can get in touch with me on the website there as well, The Great Divorce Revolution. And also, if you need to call me, my number is 813-998-3205. If I don't answer, please leave a message, and I will be more than delighted to give you a call back. And I look forward to hearing from anyone and everyone who would like to speak to me. And I really appreciate your time, Scott. I had a wonderful time, and I can't believe an entire hour has come and gone.
It's been so much fun, and I love the stories. You have so much enthusiasm. You have so much to share with people, and you're right. This book, even though it's been out for a short time, I know it's having an effect. This is going to be echoing for years and improving people's lives. So thank you for that. Tricia, hang on. I'm going to put you into the green room, and I'll be right back with you. So we have been talking with Tricia Scimone, her book, The Great Divorce Revolution, Naked and Unafraid. It is highlighted there in the carousel. Absolutely great stories, practical advice. And as we sign out and we end here on Amazon Live today, we are going to end with the pillow fight, because I can't think of anything better than just the fun of being on the beach, having a pillow fight. I encourage you, add the book to cart for yourself, for somebody that you know. The Great Divorce Revolution. Scott Smith here, signing off. We will talk to you all later.